Hey, everybody. Welcome to Moment of Clarity. How are you out there? I'm coming to you from a patio because things are in transition right now. In fact, it shows that I speak the truth because I'm now in a fucking patio. That's if don't trust anyone in a nice studio. If someone comes to you, if someone brings you the reality of this world from a really nice studio, then they're fucking up to something. All right. I was in a nice studio before with Redacted Tonight, but that's because it was a news studio. So it was the company was paying for news, and then they were like, "Oh, turn on the lights at 2 a.m. and let that comedian fuck play around for a little while." So it looked nice, but then you get censored if you actually speak the truth. So if someone's coming to you and they actually sound like they're speaking the truth and they're coming to you from a nice studio, then yeah. Just say, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. They're up to something. They're a front for something. Anyway, I got leaked audio for you from NYPD officers showing you how these assholes actually talk behind your back when they're arresting generally innocent people. Now, I know there can be arguments as to how do you define innocent? But so I have audio I want to play for you showing you exactly how they behave when they don't know the cameras are on, when they don't know the audio is on. It's surprising how little of this we actually get. There's really not enough leaked audio and video of police officers around America showing how they really behave. Also, we have the after the years of waiting, the Durham report has come out on the FBI's Russia Trump probe, and there's a lot in there that shows yet again that your mainstream media and your ruling elite, or at least a certain faction of your ruling elite, have been lying to you as much as they possibly could. They had to add extra mouths on the side of their head just so they could keep the amount of lying going at that rate. But so I'm going to go through some of the findings of the Durham report. I'll go through that in a minute after we talk about the NYPD. But there's other stories than just those. I have more footage of climate protesters being tackled and arrested by these lovely entities across America, whether it be big banks or hedge funds or private equity or whoever the fuck. They all love beating down on climate protesters. But all right, let's get started. Please hit subscribe, hit thumbs up, leave a comment, all that good stuff. But let's start off with leaked audio from this is NYPD officers, and this is being brought to you by his Twitter name is Corn Communist. But I don't actually know the events that led to the arrest they're talking about, but it's kind of not really important because you see how they speak about the people they arrest, how they speak about the protesters, how they speak about innocent people that they are often arresting and, kidnapping, if you want to use a polite term for it. But anyway, so I'm going to play some of this. Some of it's hard to hear. Most of you can hear, but I will try and clarify anything that is not clear enough. But yeah, let's just go into it. So clearly this is after an arrest of several people, and let's see how they talk about these people.
One of them. It was one of those.
Same thing with me. Like my injury, I don't know if it was a cop that fucking crushed my ankle or one of the perps.
My wife texts me, goes, "Man, that sucks. It's gonna be a long night." I go, I think a tranny just punched me in the back of the head.
So they're laughing. I'm gonna keep playing, but they're laughing about how they just beat up and arrested these people, and one of them says, someone hurt my ankle. I don't know whether it was a fellow cop or one of these perpetrators." Another guy calls them trannies. Now, I don't know whether I don't know. I don't know whether he means that literally, like this was a protest that actually involved trans rights, or he's just calling anyone that the NYPD arrests and fucking hates, and could have been climate protesters. Who know? He calls them all trannies. I don't know, but either way, very offensive. But to me, that's not the worst of it. The worst of it is coming up. I mean, but it is good to see. These assholes are generally racist, misogynist, brutal, violent, and it's good to throw in transphobic as well. I like that we can just cap it all, round it all out, and throw in transphobic as well, because it wasn't enough that it was like, yeah, sure, they're racist and sexist and brutal and violent and aggressive and idiots, but are they also transphobic? Yes, the answer is yes. There you go. So it's good to know.
And then she goes, please tell me this more of that story. Like, I'll tell you. Yeah.
Was it my tranny when I grabbed on the subway, or?
No, it was somebody from behind me. I was right on top of
who was hitting my guy?
She says, who was hitting my guy? I think it was a she. I don't know. Maybe it was a he. But who was hitting my guy? And they mean that this was the person they were responsible for arresting or whatever. So it was my guy. And let's assume it's a she. She is saying that someone was beating on the person she's trying to arrest, and she doesn't even know who it is.
Bro, they were
wailing.
Wailing. Who was that?
And so here's this cop. They're laughing. They're having a great time. But they go, oh, wailing. Yeah, it wasn't just hitting on that guy. We were wailing on that guy. And these are unarmed people. It's not like they were tackling someone with guns, because obviously that would have been talked about a lot. These are unarmed people that they're like, oh, did we beat the shit out of them? Oh, fucking trannies. God, did we wail on them? And so one of them is asking, who was it that was wailing on that guy?
At first I thought it was you.
No, I was under him.
So then I tried to fucking block, because there was like cameras right behind me.
Yeah.
That is one of the key moments where they admit that he says, we were beating the shit out of this guy, and I was trying to block the cameras. There were cameras, meaning people were filming. And so I was in the middle of this, which is clearly something serious has gone down. I'm going to assume, probably the police created it, caused it. But either way, let's say it was protester caused or perpetrator caused. Let's say this guy even went up and punched a cop in the face, and then they all attacked him and started wailing on him. And one of the cops is like, my job was mainly just to cover up the cameras and try and make sure nobody got film of this. Nobody saw any footage of this, because we wouldn't want it to get out how we behave. So I was just trying to cover up the cameras, which is what a lot of what cops spend their time doing, trying to make sure this shit's not on camera.
It was probably Obi who snuck down there.
Dude, you were
threw a couple of punches.
Right back.
All you heard was
his shirt was up, and all you heard was. I'm like, holy shit! This has to stop. This kid was crying.
Oh wait.
Yeah.
Abu.
So now they're saying all you could hear was him, the perp, quote unquote, getting pounded over and over and over. And first of all, that's hilarious, right? They're loving this. Hey, you just heard him get fucking pounded him. And he says laughingly, he says, and I was like, holy shit, this has to stop. Because that's funny. He didn't mean literally it has to stop. He means just like, how funny is it that we're beating the shit out of this unarmed guy? And they don't even know, like, clearly they don't know they're fucking head from their asshole. They don't know who's hitting him. They don't know who. One of them said their ankle got hurt. I wasn't sure whether it was one of ours or not. Someone hit me in the back of the head. I wasn't sure whether it was a cop or one of them, one of the others. They have no fucking clue. And that's how NYPD functions, but it's also how a lot of the police across our country function. It is when they have decided that it's time to attack a protester, a perp, quote unquote, whoever, a suspect, it is just mayhem. It is just like that's their fucking training, is just everyone go at them. Who knows? Maybe we'll end up beating each other in the head. And this shows how what happened in Atlanta can happen, where you had the Atlanta Forest Defenders, right? Cop City. You had cops going in from different departments, going in, state troopers and city, etc., going in and shooting each other, which has now also been released. I also played it on this live stream of cops admitting that the cop that was shot got shot by one of his own, meaning a fellow cop. However, the cops then shot Tortuguita, the kid or guy or sorry, they go by they, shot them 50 times or something, dozens and dozens of times. The autopsy now shows that their hands were up because there's shots through the hands. And this is how they are trained to just fucking go with violence. Just that is the response. And we're seeing this from this audio. We saw it from the audio in Atlanta. This is what they're trained. If you average it out across the country, or the average across the country, is that these folks get dozens of hours of training on these cops, get dozens of hours of training on how to fire a gun, but get roughly 8 hours of training on anything connected to de-escalation. So they get far more advice and training and everything on here's how to shoot and kill people, rather than here's how to take a situation and make it so it doesn't end in extreme violence and doesn't end in killing. They can't be taught that. They get a tiny percentage of the training of that. Then there's the fact that they just get a tiny amount of training in general. There's a lot of states where the number of hours that a cop gets for training is far less than a fucking barber, than a hairstylist. To get a hairstylist license in many states, you need hundreds of more hours of training than a cop needs to be a cop in several states. I've done detailed coverage on this. I don't remember all the numbers, but you can get all that. It actually happens to be. I didn't set this up as an ad for my new book, but happens to be in my new book, Dangerous Ideas, which you can get at leecamp.net by joining up at leecamp.net. But hundreds of more hours to cut a hair in some states. We wouldn't want someone miscutting hair. We can't have that going down. Now, we can have people getting shot accidentally. We can have people getting killed accidentally. We can have people getting beaten and chokeholded, which I'm sure is a word. Choke-held. We can have people getting choke-held. We can have people having their lives destroyed accidentally, incorrectly. We can have all of that go down, but we wouldn't want those bangs to be a little off. Can't have a fucking bang be crooked. I mean, it shows what we value in society. It also shows what the goal is of police officers in our society. The goal, the reason they have been created in our society, the reason they are so heavily funded in the United States, to the point that our police force across the United States is one of the largest compared to militaries. If you were to put the U.S. police force on a list of countries' militaries, it would be up towards the top. Also, in terms of amount of money spent to fund these things. But this shows the real purpose of them. It doesn't matter if they do it wrong. It doesn't matter if they're beating someone innocent. It doesn't matter if they accidentally kill someone. I've done a lot of coverage as well on how until, so the study that I'm quoting from ends around 2020 or something. So I don't know if numbers have even slightly changed since then. But in the 15 years prior to that, 3 cops, 3 police officers across the country were actually tried and convicted of murder. Now, some were, the conviction was it failed to convict them. Most of them, of course, the charges are never brought because the DA of an area is on the same team as the cops. And in the rare occasion that murder charges are brought, the odds of a conviction are small. And so you have 3 cops getting actually convicted of murder over 15 years. And if you take the Lancet Medical Journal that shows cops kill twice as many as the numbers we actually see of cop killings. So that means if there was 1,200 last year, it's actually over 2,400 because most killings by police don't go down as killings by police. If you take those numbers and you account for the fact that 3 over 15 years, so what's 2,400 times 15 years? I don't fucking know because I didn't do the maths in school. I mean, I did, but I just didn't. That makes sense. 36,000. So you have 36,000 police killings by police over that 15-year span. 3 cops actually convicted of murder. Utter insanity. They can basically kill with impunity. And so to get back to my point, this is the real reason they're on the streets and they're so prevalent and there's so many of them. Their real job is to harass and detain and pressure people and to make the country think that there can never be groups standing up and fighting back against the fascist system. Fighting back against a class war that's been perpetrated against all of us, assuming none of you are billionaires watching this right now. They're really there to just kind of act as the fascist, the fist of the fascist state. They're the front lines of the fascist state for when the people try and push back in one way or another. And that's the real reason they're out there. I don't know that a lot of them even know that, by the way. It's not like they bring them all in a room and go, hey, listen, guys, you're the fist of the fascist state, okay? You're here to really protect the rich and to make sure that no class war, well, really, it's a response to the class war we've done against them, but to make sure that no class war by the bottom 90% actually succeeds in any way. Make sure they can't actually stand up and fight back to save the environment, etc. That's why you're here. Now, they're not, none of that is told to them. So the number that actually understand that, probably pretty small. But it doesn't really matter. That's what the system is. All right, let's see what else is on here. Can't even remember. Oh, by the way, that last part was him mocking the guy crying as he's getting beaten down. And you got to assume this guy, whoever it is they're talking about, that they say they were wailing on, and they're beating him, and he's crying. You got to assume he probably wasn't putting up that much of a fight. Generally, the people that are fighting back really well are not also crying. So this kid was probably crying, or a guy or whatever, I don't know, he was a kid, was probably crying because he was getting beaten so hard and not fighting back.
Whoa.
I'm like, holy shit. I go, this has to stop. This kid was crying.
Yeah.
Able.
I was gonna scream able, but
Fucking Asian hate.
Oh, so that's the kid that got pounded, the Asian dude?
Pounded.
He was crying. He was,
that kid got
Dude, I'm telling
the
you.
whole way from
His rib is
that
fractured.
point.
His rib is fractured.
someone really fucking.
He just said his rib is fractured. They're laughing and enjoying the fact that they fractured someone's rib as they were arresting him.
Someone fucked that Asian because he couldn't breathe.
He just. Oh, sorry, I cut that off. He said, he says someone fucked that Asian up. He couldn't breathe.
Someone really fucking. Someone fucked that Asian because he couldn't breathe. He was on the ground like,
Yeah,
I can't get up.
Crying, like,
Yeah,
blood's
no,
coming down.
100% he fractured the rib.
He couldn't breathe. He was on the ground and he couldn't get up. That's what they're celebrating. And keep in mind, this is the same police force that killed Eric Garner, who said, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe." That's when that phrase first became famous. And here they are, NYPD celebrating that someone they were beating and arresting couldn't breathe.
And then someone
No
threw
doubt
him.
in my mind.
They threw him on the floor like drag. I'm like, yo.
They threw him on the floor and dragged him. And I love it. These guys are mockingly saying, like, one of them said, "Oh, this shit needs to stop." Another one said, they threw him on the floor and dragged him. And I was like, whoa. They're all talking about that internal voice that says, what we're doing is wrong. But that you notice they're not saying anything about, like, I legit tried to stop it from happening, because of course not. They're part of it, but B, when they see another cop doing this shit, wailing on someone, and I'm like, whoa, they never get in the way. They never stop it. They never try and halt this type of abuse. And so that's essentially it. But the Twitter thread I saw, and it was mainly talking about the transphobic terminology and calling them trannies and shit like that. But to me, beyond just the way they speak, it shows absolute police brutality, the celebration of police brutality. And this is how our goddamn system works. And this is the type of information, this type of audio, this type of leaked information that you cannot get on your mainstream media. They will not cover it. The best you can hope for is they'll cover it when a single cop has murdered a guy and they can say that cop was crazy. That's basically when mainstream media, and even that, if the cops are killing 2,400 people a year, the mainstream media covers how many? Like, how many George Floyds and Eric Garners are there? 1 to 2 a year. Maybe on a big year, you'll get 5 stories of police murders out of 2,400. So, in fact, the mainstream media are not really covering this. Even if you go, well, look at George Floyd, the mainstream media covered that. Yeah, that's the exception that proves the rule. All right, I want to move to this Durham report that has people waiting for this for years about the Trump-Russia collusion. They've been talking about this coming out for so long. They've been saying it. They've had panels on all mainstream media sitting around. I think it's going to Durham report will say that. They've been doing that for at least a year and a half, maybe more. So it's finally come out, and I know this is going to shock you, but it shows that despite the fact that this same type of shit, meaning the McCarthyism connected to all of this, has destroyed, my career, got my TV show banned my YouTube channel, my main YouTube channel, banned my podcast, deleted all my videos. It shows that I was right from the beginning. Now, I'm sorry to keep saying that, but it kind of keeps happening. We keep finding out new information, and I don't mean we didn't know it, but we keep getting the details. We keep getting the documents. We keep getting that moment where you go, oh, there it is. And each time, turns out I was fucking right. Wow, real. That's just shocking, isn't it? But it's not just me, obviously. It's everybody who doubted Russiagate, everybody who said it was bullshit, whether you like Trump or not. I hate Trump with a fucking passion. I mean, if you need it reiterated, he is a fucking billionaire, fraudster, narcissistic, megalomaniacal, lying con man, serial sexual assaulter. So is Joe Biden. So I hate all of these assholes, as well all of us should. And so it's not about liking this guy or that guy. It's about me wanting the truth, and many of us wanting the truth. And for those who doubted the Trump-Russia collusion bullshit, here it is. Here it is. And of course, so I actually specifically want to bring you CNN's article on this, because First of all, it shows that even CNN had to admit a lot of this stuff, but also they try and undermine the findings of the Durham report because the Durham report has shown that they are clowns. It shows that they have been lying to you for years. And CNN kind of they didn't really want to highlight that aspect per se. All right, so here is from CNN. Specifically, I want to show CNN's coverage of this. Takeaways from Special Counsel John Durham's report on FBI's Russia-Trump probe. Special Counsel John Durham released his report, his final report, on Monday, in which he cast doubt about the FBI's decision to launch a full investigation into connections between Donald Trump's campaign and Russia during the 2016 election. The 300-plus page report sharply criticizes the FBI and the Justice Department throughout, but does not recommend any new charges against individuals or any wholesale changes to the way politically sensitive investigations are handled, which all that shows is John Durham is part of this system. I mean, at the end of the day, he's like, I don't recommend any changes because I'd still like to, be invited to all the cocktail parties. And, I don't really want to upset anybody who could, ultimately give me a position at a think tank or something where I sit around and don't do shit and collect bags of money. So, he's part of the system. So he's like, yeah, everything they did with the Trump-Russia probe was bullshit, but I don't recommend any changes. I think this keep going down this road. Durham finds the FBI rushed to investigate Trump. While Durham acknowledges the FBI did have reason to open a preliminary review or investigation, he accuses the Bureau of failing to uphold its important mission of strict fidelity to the law. Oh, they didn't care about the law? The FBI? Come on. In connection with certain events and activities described in this report, a preliminary investigation requires a lower threshold to open than a full investigation. And for that reason also means the agents can't use more invasive tools like FISA surveillance warrants. So he's saying, well, they could have opened a little preliminary investigation, which is much smaller than a full investigation. They should have found during that preliminary investigation that everything was bullshit, and they shouldn't have gone any further. Claims the FBI had no real evidence of collusion before launching the probe. Yeah, but they had the word claims, but the FBI had no real evidence of collusion because there was no collusion, because it was all bullshit from the beginning. If you have if your brain stem is even slightly functioning, there was no fucking collusion in this thing. Because look, Trump is a horrible human being, but he wasn't sitting down with Putin trying to rig the goddamn election. He won because Hillary Clinton is a sack of shit, and no one liked her because they knew of her corruption. And also the fact that the DNC rigged their own primaries to stop Bernie Sanders, which, I don't know, that kind of ticked off a few voters. There's a few people out there who were a little bit sore over that. Durham concluded that federal investigators did not have any actual evidence of collusion. Oh, that's a light way to put it. That's, it'd be nice if they had any actual evidence of collusion. Of the things you might look for in proving your collusion case might be any actual evidence of collusion. They didn't have any actual evidence of collusion between Trump's campaign and Russia before launching a years-long probe into the matter. And right here's where CNN should put in parentheses, by the way, sorry for lying to you about that for roughly 6 years. Oopsie. Like, just a little parenthesis, just like a little, we lied to you 24/7 for 6 to 8 years. I guess 6 years. So whoopsie. I feel like that should be there in parentheses. And here's a quote from the Durham report. Indeed, based on the evidence gathered in the multiple exhaustive and costly federal investigations of these matters, including the instant investigation, neither U.S. law enforcement nor the intelligence community appears to have possessed any actual evidence of collusion in their holdings at the commencement of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. That's the name of the investigation, Crossfire Hurricane, because these people want to sound it's better than and more interesting than they are. So they name shit stuff like Crossfire Hurricane. Durham knocked the FBI for failing to take several steps before launching the Trump campaign investigation, such as interviewing relevant witnesses, reviewing its own intelligence databases, or using any of the standard analytical tools typically employed by the FBI in evaluating raw intelligence. So here's what I discovered from looking through this, investigating this for several years now, is the FBI didn't do fuck all to show anything. They were just knew that by saying that investigation about Trump colluding with Russia, it looked good for the Russiagate dynamic, the Russiagate bullshit, and they they didn't use any of their standard tools. Claims of FBI personnel bias. Durham mentions former FBI deputy director and CNN senior law enforcement analyst. This is where you can go, Andrew McCabe. This is where you can go. If you lie about Russiagate, make up a Russiagate story for years, then you get to be a CNN senior law enforcement analyst. And furthermore, you would think now at this point that it has been fully debunked, fully thrown out. Every instance has been just eviscerated. You'd think maybe the former FBI deputy director, Andrew McCabe, would no longer be welcome as CNN senior law enforcement analyst. Considering how much he has shat the bed on this, maybe he shouldn't be CNN's senior law enforcement analyst. Now, I'm not saying he couldn't, clean the floors at a nearby mall. There's things for him to do. Durham claims FBI had different standards for Trump and Clinton. Durham's report also states that the FBI used raw, unanalyzed, and uncorroborated intelligence to launch the Crossfire Hurricane investigation into Trump and Russia, but used a different standard when weighing concerns about alleged election interference regarding Hillary Clinton's campaign. Isn't that interesting? They used a different standard for Clinton's campaign, where they ignored it all, and Trump's, where they made it all up. He points specifically to a highly significant intelligence the FBI received from a trusted foreign source, pointing to a Clinton campaign plan to vilify Trump by tying him to Vladimir Putin so as to divert attention from her own concerns relating to her use of a private email server. So basically, they have evidence, they have proof that the Clinton campaign put out a lot of these things that tied, quote unquote, tied Trump to Russia, or seemed to tie Trump to Russia. The Clinton campaign, the Clinton machine, the DNC, they were behind a lot of this stuff, not all of it, but a lot of this stuff. I mean, the Steele dossier was funded by them. What was it called? Crossfire? No, not Crossfire. That's what they just said. Crossfire Hurricane. Fuck. The fucking goddamn shit stain. Maybe someone in the comments can tell me the name of the organization that claimed that the DNC servers were hacked by Russia. Claimed the DNC servers were hacked by Russia, but then we now know CrowdStrike. That's what it was. Thank you, No True Flags. CrowdStrike. I got Cross from Crossfire stuck in my head. CrowdStrike was also funded by the DNC. They were the ones paying them to analyze, quote unquote, analyze the servers. The servers were destroyed, as former DNC head Donna Brazil told us on live television, that the servers that were so-called hacked by Russia were destroyed, were never given to the FBI. FBI actually just went off CrowdStrike's analysis, a private firm funded by the DNC that came forward and said, oh yeah, Russia did it. Furthermore, the former head of CrowdStrike, who I think his name's Sean Henry, went in front of Congress and actually in his testimony said, we couldn't actually prove that anything was quote unquote exfiltrated from the servers by a Russian hacker. We couldn't prove the thing we said we proved that led to all of this, that was the basis, that was the heart of all of this. We couldn't prove it. That's what he said in front of Congress. You can go read the transcripts. He said they could not prove that anything was exfiltrated, meaning taken out of the DNC servers that Donna Brazil has said they destroyed, because that's what you do with the scene of a crime, right? You just fucking destroy it. That's what I do. Whenever I stumble across the scene of a crime, whenever, like I saw these two guys, they broke into a house. They were just stealing everything, wiping the place out. They had a van. I watched them for 2 hours, just loading everything out. They had on ski masks and everything. And so what I did is I didn't take down the license plate. I didn't get any description of them. And then before the cops got there, I burned down the house. And I said, well, something horrible happened here. And I figured the best answer was to burn down the house. I also once found a dead body. I did call the cops, but I chopped it up and threw it in the river before they got there. That's what I do. When I see a crime, when I see proof of a crime, you just chop it up or burn it down, and then and then the cops arrive. The investigators arrive. But that's what they did. The DNC destroyed the servers. Now, of course, if you were to think about this for 8 seconds, you might go, why would they destroy the servers? Oh, maybe because it wasn't Russia. It wasn't Russia that leaked DNC information to WikiLeaks. Maybe that could be why they destroyed the servers, because it would look bad if those analyzing the servers went, somebody stuck a thumb drive in here and took the data. It was not a Russian from overseas. Anyway, I've gotten off on a tangent because, and here's an important point. I want to just make this clear. The reason I got off on that tangent there is because fuck these people. So that's why. So here we go. Let's see. FBI failed to corroborate the Steele dossier allegations. The report is critical of the Steele dossier, the explosive document that had been used by the FBI to bolster its case for probable cause to secure surveillance warrants against a former Trump campaign advisor. Now, most of you know the Steele dossier, it sounded ridiculous from the beginning. Look, like I said, I hate Donald Trump, fucking horrific con man, but the idea that he's like, oh, he's been compromised by Russia. They have tapes of him getting pissed on by prostitutes and all this stuff. And I was like, it just doesn't. Not that I think he's above any shit, but it's just like, it's like, it seems wrong. Like that this would just show up right now. Oh, we got a photo of Donald's head on a body that's being pissed on by Russian prostitutes. It's just like, I don't know. Another one of those, and then sure enough, it was all bullshit. Steele dossier, the explosive document that had been used by the FBI to bolster its case for probable cause to secure surveillance warrants. The Steele dossier contained unverified allegations about Trump's connections to Russia, including his alleged business dealings, rumors of lurid trysts in Moscow, and claims that his campaign collaborated with the Kremlin in 2016. Crossfire Hurricane investigation did not and could not corroborate any of the substantive allegations contained in the controversial Steele dossier, which was used by the FBI to obtain a FISA warrant. Durham found. So that one also wiped out. So, and I'll show you, Trump tweeted out, I was framed. But you'll notice the end of this article ends. And what I don't see at the bottom of it is a little thing in italics that says, by the way, for those of us at CNN, sorry we spent 6 straight years lying to you mercilessly, endlessly, because we knew it was good for us. It was good for the liberal side of media. It was good for those trying to undermine Trump. I'm sorry we lied endlessly. For some odd reason, they don't have that at the bottom of this article. Also, I don't think they've retracted the roughly 9 billion articles they've put out. Let's see. I'm just going to pick a random year. Okay, I picked a random year, 2019, CNN, just to see if any of their articles have been retracted, have been deleted, have been pulled down. But I just typed in Trump-Russia collusion 2019. It's a CNN article. How Trump team keeps changing its story on the Russia investigation. And of course, this is to make you think they're changing the story because clearly they colluded with Russia. But that's the whole point. There are still thousands of articles up online from CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, all of them, all bullshit, Russian bots, Russia collusion, all utterly false. And of course, it also destroyed my career. All of that is garbage, and it sits there and it waits for people to continue to share it and read it and think it's true. I would be if I got something that wrong, I would be ashamed. And you should quit the biz. If you spend years filling people's heads with lies like this, you should quit the goddamn biz. They spent 6 years lying to us about this shit. They destroyed lives. I mean, yeah, okay, I lost a TV show and I lost a YouTube channel and shit like that. But other people will never recover. Their careers are just done. They laid the groundwork. This all laid the groundwork for the proxy war that we're now seeing in Ukraine. They pushed us closer and closer and closer and closer to nuclear war. And then after all of this time, they fart out a little article like the one I just read saying, oh, turns out wasn't Russians. Turns out. No. You can't get away that easy. I think they should come. They should come live on air. They should be live on air, and they should just spend the time slapping themselves in the face just over and over and over and over again. Okay? That's what it should be right now on CNN, on MSNBC, on PBS, on NPR. I know it's audio, but at least you'd get to hear at least you'd get to hear it, you know? All of them. And look, I'm not, unlike people who are at Fox News right now saying some of the same things I'm saying, Fox News is also full of shit. They're just full of their own brand of shit. So, yes, they're not involved for the most part in perpetrating Russiagate, but they're involved in their own garbage. So, if you're listening to a similar report as this one, but it's pro Fox News saying, clearly we all should have watched Fox News because they're so right. They're lying about everything else. But okay, I got off track. So they should be on air slapping themselves continuously. And here's the thing. I'm going to go easy on them. I think they should do that for 6 months. Just 6 months slapping, just CNN slapping the shit out of themselves. Anderson Cooper, Wolf Blitzer, all of them. We could bring Don Lemon back so he could do it for 6 months. He'd probably take it since he's not doing anything now. Just come on back, slap yourselves in the face. And then after those 6 months, we as a nation can decide if we ever want to see those fucks again on the airwaves again. Okay? And whether they should ever be allowed on the airwaves again. We can decide after those 6 months because I believe in democracy. Okay? I believe in democracy. I believe everyone should get a vote. I can tell you what my personal vote would be. It'd be for Anderson Cooper and Rachel Maddow and the others to spend the rest of their lives working in a Russian bathhouse, just scrubbing crusty towels. They should never be allowed near a TV. They shouldn't be allowed to have a TV in their home. They shouldn't be allowed on a TV, near a TV. But seriously, think about it. In the past 2 months, we've seen official evidence, new and official evidence of emails, of documents, of texts, of reports. We've seen new official evidence that the Russian bot shit was fake, that the Steele dossier was bullshit, that the FBI investigation into Russian collusion was bullshit. We've seen media reports on the Russian that the Russian collusion in general was bullshit. We've seen that the social media accounts of those of us saying all this shit was bullshit were censored and suppressed to make sure no one figured out that it was all bullshit. And that's just the last 2 months. That's just the last 2 months. Look, like I said, I hate Donald Trump with a passion, as I do all presidents in my lifetime. But the liberal side of our media has done a hell of a job proving Trump right, proving him absolutely right. That's what they've done. He said he was framed, and he was. He said he said the media, were full of shit, and they were. He said the media was lying about him, and they were. Trump is one of the lyingest liars who has ever lied. This guy has lied through his entire life, and he has failed upwards at every single moment. And yet, our mainstream media, most of it, has done a fuck of a job proving him right. They have bent over backwards to make sure that he has been proven right about all of these things. So if for nothing else, fuck them for that. All right. I got to get to another story before I burst a capillary. So the rest of this live stream will be at rumble.com/Lee Camp. That's rumble.com/Lee Camp. It's free to watch there. It's free to watch at rumble.com/Lee Camp. So join me there. Also, if you're watching on Locals, which is leecamp.net, it will continue live there as well. And that's where I will answer some questions from, hopefully at the end of this live stream. But for anybody not a member at leecamp.net, you can also watch at rumble.com/Lee Camp. And if you join up at leecamp.net, you get my ebook for free. Dangerous Ideas just came out. Full with all of the dangerous ideas that has made me the most censored comedian in America. leecamp.net. Hope you'll join up there. But you can keep watching for free right now at rumble.com.